Allman Brothers. Yeah, this is when I think discovered Georgia music. You guys can do it. These guys are the hottest stuff on earth.
Eric Stromquist. Welcome to Control Talk Now for the weekend in June 5th, 2016. This is Control Talk Now, the Smart Buildings videocast and podcast where we talk about all things building controls, smart controls, HVAC controls. If it has a C in it, we talk about it. But who is the we? Well, there's me, and then there is the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only, Kenny Smyers, my co-host from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Kenny, welcome to the show. Big dog.
Thank you very much, Eric. Who's that rocking in the background? Is that the Allman Brothers?
Well, that was the Allman Brothers, but I had to turn it down. Our podcast listeners can hear the Allman Brothers a little bit, but YouTube's already given me warnings. I cannot play Allman Brothers or pretty much anything that's decent music unless you or I make it. So, I don't know. I might have to get that band from Haystack to record some tracks from us with, man, they were good. Remember that? The Mark Peacock band? And the Mark Peacock dancers.
When I discovered Georgia music in the Allman Brothers, I was surprised you guys had such a good thing going down there. Yeah, Greg Allman, the Midnight Cowboy, and then he married Cher. I thought, oh, boy.
Dude, I was living in Macon, Georgia at the time. That was big in the mid-'70s. And, Capricorn Records was down there, Phil Walton. And his deal was that you couldn't get in too much trouble in Macon, right? There wasn't that much to do, but it was not unusual to be walking down the street and seeing Eric Clapton or Dr. John or whoever. They were all coming to Macon to record. And my roommate at the time, his dad was kind of like a real rebel. He was kind of the original badass. And he was actually sort of Greg Allman's bodyguard, valet, if you will.
Wow.
And occasionally we get calls in the middle of the night, and his dad had called, said, Greg's called. He's lost again. He's out of his mind, and he doesn't know where he is. And can you guys come help me find him? And we'd all get up and we'd drive all around Macon, Georgia looking for him. And then you'd find him. He'd be on top of this big old Cadillac, passed out. And he'd be out of gas. And he's in front of an all-night gas station. So it was some crazy stuff. But yeah, to your point, man, the music down there was fantastic. There's a place down there, and I was trying to take you there. We went to Savannah called the H&H Cafeteria, and it's still down there in Macon if you ever get a chance to go.
Yeah, I think we drove by it. It wasn't open.
We did. It wasn't open, but a great big woman named Mama Louise, and the Allman Brothers would take her on the road to cook for them. And if you ever get to Macon, Georgia, the H&H, man, you get like a meat, like fried chicken or whatever, and you get vegetables and iced tea in these mason jars, and there's just a lot of history there. So, but hey, speaking of history, buddy, you're looking like you might be a little experienced. Like, have you ever been experienced? Have you ever been Roger Rebenek experienced, buddy? Tell us about your week last week.
Well, I'll tell you what, that was one of the most, the Roger Rebenek experience now is stuck. Everybody's saying it. We've got a lot of references. I think we created some envy there because that is one of the most incredible events I've ever attended. And I've been through a lot of interesting things, but the start to finish was one of the most exciting events. First of all, the race itself is like the Super Bowl. There's crowd, the paying crowd, I think was 350,000, but they said there was an additional 50,000 people in the area to celebrate the Indy 500, the 100th race, So Roger's got this incredible relationship with Dallara. In fact, there's a gigantic deployment of Honeywell Webb's Enterprise Security in there, which we got to see. Cameras, full 9 yards, total access control, integrated. Probably one of the most integrated projects in the books, because it's all about the Honeywell product line working to give these guys the greatest efficiencies, the greatest operational technologies and savings. So that's one thing. Then we actually went to the simulator, Indy 500 simulator. We didn't get in it, but we saw how it worked and how it moved. That was fabulous. And then we went to the gym. The network was crazy. We were right there, like at the doorstep of the Indy 500 restaurant. Again, Roger right outside of Laura's facility was a restaurant on the corner, which hosted Jackson Controls helped to host this incredible event. People from all over North America, Canada, a couple parts of Canada, East, West Coast, South, everybody that's there was very astute with the Honeywell. These are some of the main players of the Honeywell distribution channel and some contractors. And Mike Keller had residential. So Larry Andrew Eunice had his section. Mike Keller had his section, and then Roger put them both together, and it was just an incredible event.
Well, so, dude, yeah, to put it in perspective, Roger Rebenak is like, if you haven't met Roger, you got to check this guy out. He's just off the chain. He's great with access and security stuff. Been with Honeywell forever. A fun guy to be around. Go to Control Trends. You can see him on the show. It's hard to get Roger around without him breaking out into a song. But Roger's from Indy, and as we said on the show, Roger does this Indy event. And it is absolutely spectacular. And I think, to get in, you just basically reach out to your local Honeywell distributor and tell them you're interested in attending the Roger Rebenak event, and they'll set you up to buy some product, and they can sort of give you some sales goals, which are really reasonable. But you hit those, and this event is, bar none, the coolest event ever. I mean, literally, you guys know I'm wearing my Indy shirt from when I was there several years ago. And does Roger still have the deal worked out with the state troopers where everybody else is in line for 2 or 3 hours to sort of, park and get into the event? And Roger has these state troopers that whisk you on by at 60 miles an hour. So you go straight from your hotel, straight in to the pits, and you're right there. Did he do that for you guys again this year?
2 times. It was amazing. You're right. The first day, the Friday, carb day, that was really cool. I mean, because what's happening is you have they close down certain roads that were 2-way, make them 1-way. But we got the police escort, so we just everybody's standing stalled in traffic for probably an hour and a half to get to the parking. You zoom right past it. They take you right down to the Dilawri, right to the parking lot. So yeah, great expediting process there, and it's there's several of them. It's like it reminded me of the Mardi Gras and the parades. How it's what they're known for. So you got to know somebody or go through the process of network. Yeah, but then we did it on race day, and that's where it really mattered. Because the estimated time to get into the traffic and get parked was 2 hours.
Yeah.
And you blow by that 50 miles an hour. They just shut the lanes off. The police are in the middle of the intersections, giving you priority through each light. It's big league treatment. So you feel like you're
well, you are
a rock star in the way
you
are,
and they all know Roger. So you walk down around the pits and all that, and they all know Raj. And then I tell you what, was special shout out to Bob White and the team at Jackson Controls. They're the Honeywell distributor in Indianapolis, also fellow members of Controls Group North America. Bob is one of the truly great guys in the industry, and so they help host it as well. So
and Greg Erickson and his wife, they do a great job. In fact, they did all the the legwork. They put all the tables up and everything. So when we went there, it was a true Honeywell reception. They had an Indy 500 card with all the logos on it.
Yeah, of all the distributors and contractors.
That was a thrill. I mean, just to get that close to the cars and then see your logo on it is quite an event. That we took pictures of. Well, it creates lifelong experiences and memories.
It does. It does. I don't think there's a promotional event in our industry, and you and I've been around the industry for a long time that really rivals outside of maybe the Control Trends Awards. I mean, that might be the only thing that comes close to the Roger Rebenak experience. So, listen, a special congratulations to Roger. He worked his tail off with this, and obviously Bob White and the team at Jackson does too. So it was a great event. We have a video. You guys actually filmed Control Talk Now last week from that event. So if you're curious, get a little flavor for it, you can just go check that out on Control Talk Now last week.
It was a lot of fun, and Michael Bonner and Rob Allen, 2 top-notch guys from Stromquist. Rob's got a lot of vitality, and he offers a lot of insight, a young gun. And then Michael Bonner, he's he does all the technical stuff. He knows everything about everything. If I had a question about the race or why the cars were doing this or whatever, I just asked Michael B. and he knew the answer. And went with Rob Allen to the museum with my brother David. The Indy 500 museum by itself is worth seeing, where they take you through the evolution of race cars from 1911 to present. Every winning vehicle is on display there, except for the ones that they brought out for the ceremonies. And the incredible, technology, how they took, every aspect of it. It used to be a brickyard, for God's sake. 2 billion bricks all over the place. And then until they got something to do with the asphalt and the way it expands and contracts and the way the rubber meets the road there. They had these bricks for 1960, I think it was. So it's just an incredible thing. I'd recommend anybody that has the opportunity to work now to get to the travel list, because it's a restricted list of people. It's for the really people that are dedicated to the Honeywell product line and make a commitment early, and then they get to go through this fabulous Roger Repack experience.
All right, Kenny. Well, I tell you what, man, that's fantastic. And so what do you say? We got a big week this week. What do we have up first, buddy?
Well, we had SISMIC. We had standing at the forefront of technology and innovation, delivering control products for infrastructure, building, and energy. This was at the summit, Niagara 2016 summit. And I'll tell you what, this is where some of the world-class vendors come to show off their wares. And we saw the synergy occurring between SISMIC and Phoenix Contact. We've probably been using Phoenix Contact for many, many years and didn't know where they were coming from, because they manufacture terminal blocks. They're all about the cabinet, the control cabinets, power supplies, and everything to do inside of the control cabinet. These guys from Phoenix Contact have been making for many years. SISMIC was more of a technology leader. They took Sedona and Niagara and put it into a non-JACE entity. They had their own little controllers, and they call it well, basically, they say the SISMIC's products are designed by their experienced engineering team, manufactured under highest quality standards, German standards, and they take the Intessa, the integrated server architecture, is the only modular, expandable I/O controller worldwide operating both Niagara and Sedona at once. So these guys are really thrilled with their products. They have a contractor down in Florida who's beginning the penetration into the North American market. And they got some very good products. And again, the Phoenix Contact Group, which is also a global leader and innovator in the field of electrical engineering, bought SISMIC. And now you've got this synergy going on with the controllers and then the people that make all the accessory items, so that you got quite a delivered product portfolio.
Well, you do, Kenny. And I think what's interesting about SISMIC is they come from an industrial background. So these are pretty robust, very robust controllers. I mean, you look at them. They look different. They feel different. It's kind of like the difference between a Mercedes and like a little Honda car, right? I mean, both are good cars. Both get you where you want to go. But, you look at them and you know that they're different. So I'm thinking that one of the trends we've sort of caught a little bit is we're seeing more and more of tritium-based controllers coming into the industrial market. And I think SISMIC fits that package really nicely down at a controller level. Now, what I'm not quite sure about, and maybe somebody from SISMIC or Phoenix can give us an answer on this, is sort of with industrial controls, you need faster scan rates and stuff like that, depending on the process. So my guess is they've got those scan rates down, but we'll keep an eye on Phoenix, and hopefully we'll get those guys back on the show to talk to them.
You're right, and again, it's very exciting because the modularity is, again, very important. So you don't have to take a big controller to do a small application, and if you start out with a small application, you're not orphaned there. You can migrate into a larger by just adding the IOs, and you have the Niagara framework already existent, so you can just keep adding to it with no discomfort whatsoever. So it's just good arrangements, European style, and I think it's going to have a good mark in certain applications, particularly like you said, using Niagara in the industrial fields.
Yeah, for sure, Kenny. All right, buddy. If we had the music playing, we'd be playing It's Time for Ken's Calendar, but we don't. We're just sort of getting back into the swing of things. So tell us about our next post, big dog.
The next post is free training. Belimo put together, again, the sizing and selecting control valves made easy. So learn from the control pros at Belimo. Danella Brees, product specialist, went over the Sales Tool Select Pro. And this is a sizing and selection application that is made very, very easy. I was on it this morning just to kind of review. And, when you try to put together products or projects and somebody calls you up and says, I got to have a price together for this valve schedule by 12 o'clock. So, you think, where's my tool that's going to help me get names and numbers and costs so I can give this guy a price? Belimo probably has one of the most simplified sizing and selecting programs. There's other good ones out there. Siemens has a good one. Honeywell has a good one. But Belimo has a claim to fame on some of their incredible tools that they give people, both contractors and distributors, to use to make their jobs easy, particularly in the early estimating phases. And then if you do go with it, you can save that schedule, and it could lead into an order. You can literally take a CVS file, put it onto a spreadsheet, and send it in.
Yeah, send it to either Stromquist or DMS Controls, right?
Yeah.
But I think, Kenny, there's I think a lot of emphasis, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later in the show, both with buildings and building controls and the schemes there, and then even with ordering products. I mean, the prices have all got about as competitive as they can get. So if you look at something like this tool and using this tool, you're really cutting cost out of the system based on the labor portion of it. I mean, you're making it a lot easier to place the order. So I think that's a thing we've been talking about for a while, and a trend, and we'll continue to talk about is operational savings. I mean, we're seeing that, and we'll talk a good bit about that more in the show. But Belimo does a nice job with these trainings. You can go, they archive them. You can go and you can check them out if you miss them, especially our friends in India and around the world. These guys do a great job.
They sure do. And the thing about the tool itself is global. So you literally pick your, North America or U.S., and then you pick English. So this tool has been through the rigors of the globalization. You talk about product lines that are similar or the same in everybody's market, just changing the languages and the scripts, and it's off and running. So another major project. I'm sure people that did it in Belimo put a whole lot of time and effort in it because it's so specific and great tool.
That's a fantastic tool. Well, speaking of great tools, our friends at J2 Innovation, man, are rocking and roll. Fin 4 has hit the street. So let's talk a bit about that.
Well, they're very excited. You know how exuberant and how enthusiastic Scott Mensch is about his product, and how Jason Briggs is very professorial. He did a great video, but basically, Fin News reports that this month, J2 Innovation unveiled their game-changing technology, Fin 4.0, that will help create your customer solutions faster, easier, and better than ever before. Fin 4.0 is a complete BAS-BOS framework that leverages tagging, data modeling, implements responsive web design, and a mobile-first focus. So they really, truly capitalize on the HTML5 standard, and they're very proud of it. In fact, if you watch the video, they show you how cool it is, because you don't lose any of your effects, you don't lose any of your the view screens. It's totally HTML5, and it really works. And great job, J2 Innovations.
Well, automatic scaling is a big part of it too. So you can take the data from your phone to your tablet to your computer, and as you can see, if you watch the podcast, a lot of times getting things scaled properly it can be a difficult thing. So to have those automatically scale is fantastic, and there's more coming out from those guys. I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg. So we'll look forward to getting Scott and hopefully Jason back on the show to talk about it. And I think they'll be at Realcomm Ibicon, so that show's coming up. Kenny and I'll be out there, and as well as a lot of the other major players. So if you get a chance to go to that show, I'm sure the boys from J2 will be there. Check them out.
Well, and also we got to give Gerald Huff a shout out, because we always talk about the global folks that we deal with, like Mike Marston. He'll be in Malaysia one day, he'll be in India one day, he'll be in Australia one day. Well, where in the world is Gerald Huff? That's now a feature on Fin News, and Gerald has been a world traveler, visited 8 different sites, and trained a lot of Fin fans. But he was in Orlando, Florida, California, Richmond, Virginia, India, Australia. He's been around the world, so he's getting some frequent flyer miles.
I tell you what, he was worked hard when he was at Tritium, and he's, I think, working even harder with J2. So he's one of the greats in our industry, Kenny, and he's somebody that the Control Trends Awards really needs to acknowledge. So at some point in time, we got to acknowledge Gerald. He's a hardworking guy, great guy. You've known him for years, I have too, and just
sure did. I mean,
one of the super people in our industry.
My original Tritium certification was Phil Stuckemeyer and Gerald. And man, I'll tell you what, when you don't know what to expect, you go down into this room, and it's almost intimidating to the point where you're like, oh gosh, you're back on the cutting blocks, because they start you off and tell you what they give you the objectives or whatever, but they're professional trainers, and Gerald's a professional trainer. I think he came out of the military, and they are really skilled at making sure they convey in the best layman's terms. There's so much jargon, and when you're trying to follow stuff, and if you don't understand something, you get lost real quick because they move at a very good pace. And I just remember he was very skilled. Really and truly let you know that they're not down here to do anything but bring you along. Make sure that you get it. They've got a job to do. They've got certifications to give, so they make sure you work hard. But then just a very professional trainer. It's a difference between a homemade trainer and a certified trainer.
Yeah. I got you, Kenny. Well, hey, let's talk a little bit about the edge. We were at the Niagara Summit, and one of the themes we heard over and over was the enterprise to the edge. And who do we have on the edge? We need to get a young gun on the edge. So tell us about our next post, big dog.
I'd love to. I mean, well, this guy is impressing me more and more as we go along, because he is considered one of the original young guns. And Ken St. Clair brought us up back before we were actually, coming around with the terms young gun and what it meant, and trying to scale it, as far as how old people were and the huge impact they've already made at an early age. That's kind of the impression we want to make, so that we can attract other people. That there's a lot of talented people that come into our industry that could pick any industry, but they pick this one because of the impact. Well, Alper Alsmeiser Mesler is the managing partner and chief innovator at BASSG Graphics, and the edge controllers that's coming out is really truly another one of these IoT. We were taking all this technology and we're condensing it. The form fit is shrinking, and the whole concept is just awesome, because now you have this, an analytic engine, visualytic HTML5 drag and drop visualization. It's got an EAC engine optimization, and it's being done at the edge because you don't need to pump all that information. So it's filtering all the massive data into actionable data, and that's a big difference. So that you do, the more processing you do down at the edge, the way I understand it, the less impact or less reliance on the cloud. The cloud costs money. It's possible you can get disconnected from the cloud. There's security issues in the cloud. So if you do this stuff locally using the incredible technology inside there, which goes to SkySpark, I mean, the synergies that this edge devices has, it has like technologies from 2 or 3 different sources. So it's a great product, and he expects to do very well with it.
Well, dude, I just like the way it sounds. I mean, would you rather tell people? So let's set the scenario up. You're single again. You walk in. There's a beautiful girl at the bar, and would you rather walk up and say, "Hey, I'm at the edge," or "I'm in the clouds"? I mean, edge just sounds better, right?
I like that, Eric. It was pretty good.
And of course, Alper, we got turned on to him by our friend from Ken St. Clair at automatedbuildings.com. We'll talk about him a little bit more in the show. But Alper was original young gun, Kenny. He was a guy that sort of came into our industry, a youngster. Let's think about things differently. Let's do it differently. Now he's an old guy now. He's like 30-something. I mean, that's
33, I think, but he's still young. But,
no, that's old, Kenny. That's old. Compared to me and you, that's really old, man.
He has a passion for his job. He's looking for distribution, by the way. We're looking at his product. He's got a couple products. We have to see if it fits the business model we're in. But if you're interested in being a distributor for this new EAC controller, please contact, like you said in your post at the end of the interview, contact Alper and get on this bandwagon early, and you might have a real business edge advantage over
Look at you worked edge back in, man.
I tried. You said keep
business
doing it.
Edge, baby. Business
we got 3
edge.
things. We got building renaissance. We got to get out there a couple of times today. We're going to get the smart, intelligent, connected building.
Oh man, you sound like you're about to say light litter next.
And light litter. That's exactly right.
Well, and you came up with the smart building tsunami. That was a pretty good one.
Well, you know what? When we're off camera, we have to come up with some new ideas every once in a while. Otherwise, we get stagnant and boring, right?
Well, maybe, but hey, a guy who's never stagnant and boring, speaking of smart building tsunamis, is the original tsunami himself, Ken St. Clair, buddy. Our June issue is out, and we'll probably have Ken on next week, hopefully, if not the week after, to talk about it. But if you hadn't had a chance to check that out, and Kenny, what's the theme this month?
Well, the theme is measured variables, health, well-being, and productivity. Excuse me. And then this is kind of we're going to hit this 2 or 3 times more, but there's a 3-30-300 rule of thumb that organizations typically spend approximately $3 per square foot for utilities for the year. They spend $30 for rent, mortgage, lease payments, and then they spend $300 for payroll. And that means the employees inside that space are approximately $300 per square foot per year. Now, there's an order of magnitude of where savings occurred. Like we have been to Realcomm several times, IBCon, and we've listened to some of these really high-level executives explain to our industry that sometimes, guys, when you come in here and you're preaching to me how much energy you can save, which of course is very important, we want you to start spending more time on comfort, because comfort means tenants. Tenants mean the big bucks. Okay, and then when you get comfort, tenants, and big bucks, now you got productivity. So we are seeing now a science evolve, technically proven, and then socially proven through the feedback now of contextualizations with the phones and programs, that if people are happy and comfortable and they get the right lights and the right ventilation, they produce more work. They're actually become 1 to 5% more productive. And if you take that 5%, some of the rule of thumb stuff was that if you're saving you're improving 5% productivity on a $300 variable per square foot, now you're making money. Now you're really truly hitting the street. So you got your energy savings, which is kind of taken for granted that you better be able to do your efficiencies with energy and your operational technology and your operational savings. And then the rent, that can always improve through competition, but where you really have a sweet, big sponge of savings is in this 300 level, where you make people feel better. So Ken focuses on that about, that the temperature, pressure, flow, and physical things, and control variables. Now the new variables are health. People want to feel like they're in a healthy building. The individual well-being improves their productivity. So it's a great theme, and he's got tremendous support. So there's several articles that he says it's like kind of a synchronicity or synergy or even coincidence that everybody's thinking in the same terms. So he had solicited some of his contributions.
No, Kenny, I think you're right on it, and I think I wonder if part of what's driving this is the fact that energy has gotten so inexpensive. And one of the themes that we've heard, and I think we're going to hear more of this, and like you said, we've heard it at several of the conferences from the real estate people themselves, the energy savings is the bonus. So if you're a consulting engineer or if you're a systems integrator and you are actually out making a presentation or trying to win a job, and our friend Mark Jewell, who will be coming back on, Mark Jewell is one of the great trainers in our industry. He's going to be contributing to Control Trends. We'll tell you this as well. The energy savings is the bonus. If you just focus on the energy, you're going to lose out, because especially with energy costs being the way they are now. Now, the productivity costs, increased productivity or increased tenants, the cost to get a new tenant is so high that you don't want to risk losing a tenant because they're uncomfortable. So it's a big piece. Now, the other thing Mark Jewell will tell you, Kenny, is that tenants, especially the millennials, would rather be in a building that is Energy Star rated. So the people that have Energy Star rated buildings can charge more per square foot, and they also have less turnover. So it's kind of contradictory to what I'm saying. So it's not that energy is not important. It's just that if you're not bringing in the operational efficiencies and having people be more productive and healthier. And, there was a guy I met from California, Kenny, and he was telling me about the well building. And that's actually becoming part of the branding now, where everything in the building is healthy snacks, the water is filtrated a certain way, the environment is filtered a certain way, the temperature is a certain way, so that it is conducive to good health. So I think this is a trend we're going to see a lot more of. And as usual, the prophetic Ken Sinclair is right on top of it. But I think our next post dives even deeper into it, right?
Well, it sure does. The next post is going to be Michael Marston.
Oh, okay. A couple posts.
But up the second to
I tell
third
you,
to the last post.
Well, let's just put it this way. We got more to say about this later in the show, right?
Well, and it's a good segue. So, yeah, because we'll go into it deeper. But just to finish off what Ken St. Clair did on this June edition, again, he is a very serious focal point of industry news. He's got all the top guns around the world contribute articles on a monthly basis. But then if you really want to go get the synopsis of what's happening and stay current, then come to the June edition of Automated Buildings, because there's 7, 8, 9, 10. There's like 12 new articles that are all about web-enabled Dolly programming from Mike Welsh in England. We have the KISS ECS automation, Joe Moore, data-driven building management, Jason Burt, Bill Pulse, making your plant a value-generating asset, Chira Shu from Conservis, or Shaw, I'm sorry, SHAH from Conservit. Jim Snopley, he's a contributing editor, monitoring the inert, the envelope and structure. Therese Sullivan has another great post in conjunction with Alper Alsmesler about applying all the laws of the threes to see the future. So that we see that 330, 300 again. The $1 Trillion Opportunity by Brad White, which we do have a post on. it's just so much more. And that's just the contributing editors. You get a whole bunch of other articles on the right side of the toolbar that are very interesting. So if you really want to learn more about our industry and stay on top of all the trends and innovations, you got to keep visiting the Automated Building website and read. It's all there. It's ready for your perusal.
Oh, that's good stuff. And did you see Therese Sullivan the other night on Silicon Valley, the show?
No,
She made a guest appearance.
Did she? Well
Therese
done,
Sullivan's
Therese.
our girl in the Valley. Therese, hey, we miss you. We got to get Therese back on the show too. She has a blog called buildingcontext.me. Definitely check her out. She does have a fresh, interesting perspective on things. And I miss her, dude. We got to get her back on the show.
Yeah. Well, again, she's, I'd say kind of brilliant. She gets...
kind of brilliant. She's super brilliant.
Yeah, but, she takes the...
She's almost too smart for her own good sometimes.
I didn't say that. You did. But I think what she has is she has experience at C-level experience at all the stuff, the technology, sustainability. She was into that program before many of us even knew what it was. She's a professional writer. She's got a tremendous background in writing, and so she takes that perspective that is not directly involved. She does not sell. She's not a distributor. She's not a contractor, but she's
so you get a perspective of somebody that's very observant, very brilliant, that's been around several different industries and watched several different peaks and bubbles and declines, that's looking from the outside in. And I think that is a very, very great perspective. Kenny and I are we're in the bubble, looking inside the bubble. Ken Sinclair's he's been in the bubble and now he's on the bubble, and Therese is outside of the bubble, looking into the bubble. And I think, if you want to understand the bubble, you got
That's really good, Eric.
You got to have bubble vision. I think Google Glasses is coming out with a new thing called bubble vision.
In the bubble, outside the bubble,
on the bubble. Yeah.
Man, did you just come up with that or what?
Man, I'm having a flashback. We talked about the Allman Brothers earlier. I guess my brain went back to college days and
nice.
Those creative enhancers, right? That sort of stay in your brain or whatever.
But
are you experienced, Kenny?
Roger Reback experience, baby. Yeah, Jimi Hendrix too, a little bit back in the day.
Not necessarily stoned, but beautiful. I went through a phase. I got to just tell you this. I went through a phase of about 6 years of my life where I literally thought I was Jimi Hendrix. I mean, I did. From my senior year in high school, I quit all sports but football. Wow. I went and bought a Fender Telecaster. I grew my hair long. I bought all these sort of velvet jackets and stuff like that. I could mimic him, so I talked like him. I go, yo, baby, it's all cool, and hey, what's happening? Hey, I dig it, and all that stuff. My parents did not know what to do with me, Kenny. I mean, they just kept going, you are not Jimi Hendrix, It was, and I went through college doing that. And
you had a band in college, right?
I did,
you had a band.
I had Macon City Blues Breaker with Jimi Hendrix on guitar. People were really disappointed when they showed up because I never could play guitar very well, but I could act like him, So
that's part of it. Acting is believing,
Yeah, well, something like that. I don't know, but it was okay. But you talk about a guy who is a superstar in his own right. I mean, our next post. I mean, is this guy not like a prolific superstar? And he actually knew rock stars. Our friend Mike Marston, right?
Well, sure. The drummer from the last Mike Marston Pub Talk.
Yeah.
He actually had a guy that an English fellow that played drums with the biggest, best guys in the business at the time.
Knew Mitch Mitchell.
Yeah.
Mitch Mitchell was my drummer back when I thought I was Jimi Hendrix. I literally, tell people Mitch was my drummer and Noel Redding was my bass player. But anyway, I digress. But Mike is, they just can't. How much better can they make this controller, Kenny?
Well, I think what's happening now is these guys, Easy.io has their legs underneath them now. And they know what direction the market needs, that's underserved and where they need to go. So they've got their form fit, they've got their boards together, and now they're taking it to the next level. So the FG32 Plus is just keep getting better and better. But they're introducing new products. And this is what's getting scary, is that they're really truly putting these things out quick. So they've got a new FW14 controller and the product roadmap, and then also some software updates. And they gave us another one yesterday that was effective June 1st for better BACnet, the protocol BACnet. They've put some things into that to make it faster, better, easier. And then this FW14 controller We actually had the PowerPoint. So we've got the first EasyIO controller based on Wi-Fi technology. It has 8 universal inputs, 4 universal outputs, two relay digital outputs. Excuse me. So it is RS-45, and it also has Ethernet, and it'll support the Wi-Fi 802.11, Sedona VM, and SOCKS, TCOM, and the FG point-to-point, and BACnet MSTP. So very formidable, but the kicker is the price. I don't even want to say it yet until I see it in writing, but it's very affordable. It's going to be, again, the ability to go into an application and just get the thing done without buying more than what you need. If you don't need great graphics, if you don't need the visualization, you don't want to pay for it because you don't have the budget. We have several projects in underway where they're buying all the controllers first just to get their handle on the application. Much like Viconics offers and all the other manufacturers now offers a thermostat that you can get it on the wall and control the equipment with the thought that as soon as you can, you're going to network all those thermostats and really take advantage of some of those opportunities. And so EasyIO is coming from that perspective of how to get into mics deep and wide. So you come in and all the big people are fighting for the vertical, top of that triangle where you've got your airports, your hospitals, your larger markets, your municipalities, university schools, and hospitals, but the real thick market, the real where the money can be made, where contractors can go in there and get in and get out, and then keep cookie cuttering this type of applications for plant controllers, chillers, boiler controllers, is these EasyIO products. So these now are getting to the point where EasyIO is putting out a new product, in 6 to 8 months, and it's incorporating all the newest technology. So all your HTML5 issues, all your wireless issues, they're coming in with that solved technology to put them together to make some very formidable products.
Well, they really are, and the whole team at EasyIO is just phenomenal. The rest of them, they work hard, they play hard. So Kenny, let me ask you a question. You watch this TV show, Game of Thrones?
Oh, I sure do.
Okay, so you know who Khaleesi is, right?
Yeah, the princess.
The princess. So Khaleesi's the hot princess. If you don't watch the show, who's got the dragons, right? But she's been for the entire 6 seasons. You really root for her because she, eventually is hopefully going to get her kingdom back. But now the big buzz with Khaleesi is everybody loves her, but now they think she might be legitimately evil because she's talking about killing the men in their iron suits and taking the world over and burning everybody with their dragons and all. Okay. Now, Mike Marston, I don't want you to take this the wrong way, okay? Because this is sort of tongue in cheek. But straight thing, Kenny, do you think Mike looks a little bit like Dr. Evil from Austin Powers? Where he's going to 1 billion controllers. Well,
we have a picture of that same gentleman coming up with Brad White's post.
Well, we do. So for our audience out there, and Mike, we think you're one of the good guys, but I tell you what, man, these guys keep progressing at the rate they are. I think they're going to sell 1 billion controllers, right?
Well, that'd be something. I can't even know McDonald's has sold a couple billion hamburgers, but the B number is kind of hard to map out with actual.
In all seriousness, I'm sort of kidding around, but I think Mike can take that because he's a fun guy. But in all seriousness, these guys are doing some really, really wonderful stuff, and they got FinStack in there now, so it's almost like the race to the small space. We talk about that, the smaller buildings that need to be served. And I think EasyIO's got a great solution for that with their beast. But then you also start coupling this with another trend we're sort of seeing, which is hybrid systems, right? Taking the best of breed for different products. And, the plant controller, this beast from the East, is so versatile. It does so much. That I think these guys are going to be at the center of a lot of systems. And when we saw Mike in Colorado, he was showing us how they were controlling breweries with it, and right. Microbreweries, I should say. So these guys they're innovative, Kenny. They're fun, they're innovative, and I don't know where they're going this year for their global event.
Manchester, England.
Okay. Well,
in fact, I'm really glad you brought that up because I almost slipped a knot again. EasyIO has a roadshow. So EasyIO now is global. So we got a lot going on with EasyIO in the United States. We have training coming up in July in Pittsburgh. I know they're going up the East Coast. Lim Hoon Chat's coming in, and he's coming to our neck of the woods. But over in Europe right now, they've got June 6th, Manchester, June 8th, Coventry, June 10th, London. And they're calling it the EasyIO Roadshow. And what's really crazy about it is you talk about synergies. They've got Chris Irwing from Tritium, Richard Ride from ARUP, which is an organization of engineers. They've got John Corbett from Notion. They've got One Site Solutions. And Lim Hoon Chat is doing the training there. Tony Hughes from EasyIO. Johan Shakelrad from CEO EasyIO Europe. And then Pedro Jorge, the CTO from EasyIO Europe, are all going to be traveling together for these 3 locations in England. So for all our Control Trends people over there in Western Europe, you might want to take advantage of this and catch up to these things. Please go to the site. We have a link to the training. Right. And contact Johan Shakelrad.
And don't tell them you want to go to the road show. Tell them you want to go to the EasyIO Rock and Roll Show, starring Lim Hoon Chat and Mike Marston. Listen, speaking of that, they're coming to Atlanta in July. We will live stream the training out. More details for that. If you go to Control Trends, we do a lot of live streaming. You'll be able to participate. You'll be able to see the show. You'll be able to ask questions. So as soon as we get a date firmed up with the boys from EasyIO, Mad Mike and the team, we'll let you know so you can sign up and be part of that as well.
Well, Eric, here we have there's your comparison. There's the evil guy there, and then there's Mike. So do you see the
let me see. I can't really see it. Let me see if I can pull it over here. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so you see Dr. Evil, a.k.a. Mike Myers, and then right below it you see Mike Marston.
Yeah.
Mike and Mike. Could it be?
I don't know if Mike's going to like that one. In fact, you know what? You always call him Mad Mike Marston, but this post here we had to call him Magic Mike Marston because the way that the EasyIO is progressing, and they've also made an announcement last week. We covered on the last. Actually, we may have not covered it in depth because of the roadshow that we were on at the Roger Reback Experience. But there's a new thing coming out from Tritium that is going to impact with the Sedona, programmers and users, and we know there was some concern there from Contemporary Controls and some of the other people that use Sedona extensively, that there's an Edge protocol coming out from Tritium, the Niagara 4, and that Mike Marston made an announcement last week or 2 weeks ago now, I guess, 2 weeks, that the new Niagara 4 Edge software will be compatible with the FG32 and some of the other controllers from EasyIO, so they'll have the first Edge controller, that will be compatible with the N4 software. So,
wait a minute, I thought. Well, I know he's got that. Will that be the first one, or is Alper's the first one?
I don't think Alper has the
N4 yet,
because I don't think it's out yet. I think it's on the drawing board, and they're looking for the some of these OEM people that have controllers to go there. And,
so Magic Mike is a completely different comparison, Kenny.
I know.
Yeah. So I don't know. He might prefer to be called Magic Mike instead of Mad Mike. So Mike, let us know. But I'm beginning to think that Mike Myers and Mike Marston might be the same person.
Okay, it's a leap, but we'll see how it flies.
All right, cool, man, cool. Well, good stuff from our friends at EasyIO. What do we have up next, big dog?
Next up, down to some serious stuff again here. We got KMC Controls training class, and from June 20th to June 24th, 2016, KMC Controls in New Paris, Indiana, will hold a KMC Connect with total control training classes, and the objective of this 4 or 5 day course is to provide instruction on the installation, integration, and operation of the KMC Connect and Total Control software. So they got the configuration and operator workstation options for the BAS systems using the KMC Conquest hardware and or earlier versions in the BACnet environment. And the Total Control provides enterprise-level connectivity and internet access facility management resources for customers. So each student should have a 2-year HVAC certification or field experience equivalent, and they should possess at least 12 months experience installing and configuring KMC BACnet systems. So take the post link, and if you're so inclined, please register. And there's the information on the tuition cost and the training and accessory information is all on the post.
It's all on the post. And you talk about another company on the move. We talk about these guys a lot. KMC, man, they're rocking and rolling, American-based company. Disruptive these boys are, I think. If you check this Conquest out, check some of the posts out. That's going to be a game changer. Again, another major player, both in the race to the small space and the big space. El Specie Grande, right?
Ooh. El Space, huh? Is that a real word? Or is
I'll
that
have to
just
ask our friend Alfredo and Carlos from Mexico that we saw.
Yeah, we're going to have them come up again. That's going to be great.
Look forward to seeing you guys, getting you guys back on the show. So good stuff there, Kenny Smyers. And speaking of that, what do we have up next, man?
Well, the next up is it's a fun post for a couple reasons. One, again, it's from the June edition of Automated Buildings, Ken St. Clair's release for June. In addition to a lot of other great supporting articles, this is a very interesting post because Brad White is one of the young guns. He's also just a young, vibrant. He's a principal at the SES Consultant. He loves engineering. He's got a passion for what he does. And we have a video of him doing a presentation, kind of a lunch and learn to a group of distinguished people where they're kind of wondering where he's going with stuff. But he does a very compelling economic case for directing more of our efforts to the $300 variable in that $300 square foot rule. A 5% improvement in productivity represents a tremendous savings while making employees more comfortable and making the buildings better. So he talks about, if you have money to invest, he talks about ROI. He talks about trust. He talks about the biggest problem now, that the technology is here. We just can't get people to jump off the decision ledge to get a committed, spend the money because you're going to get it back. He said that the engineering community has to have, you have to believe your engineers. You have to believe in they have to believe what they're doing, and they have to convey that belief to the people that are being resistive to it. Because he just proves that time and time again that if you take this much savings, so if you have the pie is 3%, 30%, 300. If you save 50% in the 3% chart, and then you save 20% in the 30% chart, but if you save 5% in the 300 variable chart, you're making $1 million a year. You're saving the people. So it's difficult to assign real profit and real energy. Value where the value is going and how that means. So they're coming up with a metric system, the metrics that can actually prove that people, if they are more comfortable, they're more productive. And they use Comfy. In the video, if you watch it, it's kind of fun for us because, we've already had affiliation with Comfy and Lindsay Baker. In fact, the IBCon coming up here, I'll be on an advisory board, and Lindsay Baker is another one of the panel members. And, you talk about a product that gives you the feedback. So they talk about people in the contextualization of their phone. So the phone makes them able to communicate and become productive aspects of it. They can literally now do corrective zoning where they can say exactly where the people are in the building and when they're there. So for university, for instance, they're talking about closing down buildings. They're talking about in a building where you have, you could shed classes, you can consolidate buildings so that certain parts of buildings are open for 1 or 2 classes, and all that information is kind of out there, but it's scrambled. They can't put it into an actionable format. And what he's saying is they can do that. And if you do it, you can save a lot of money, an S-load of money. But he brings a couple of really important things. They can prove value now. And they couldn't do it because they didn't have the applications to do it. So now they can prove that value. So the real money for universities is to retain the students that they have and to attract new students. Like you said, they want to go to a place that's hip. They want to make sure that they're not going into a place that's the dismal environment, uncontrolled environment. They're not making any progress on reducing our carbon footprint. And so they want a hip organization. But for a tenant, retention is incredibly important, and they can prove that a satisfied tenant, you retain us at a certain percentage, and then with productivity, you can increase productivity and remove and reduce absenteeism. So when people don't feel like going to work because it's the same crappy mode, or it's a cold day, or a real muggy day, and they know the office is going to be a sweat box, they're going to say, you know what, I'm going to put the plug on today, I'm going to take a day off or whatever. So now that when they can put all this information into a presentation, a format that the people can believe, they're going to be more compelled to go for it. So.
Well, no, it is very compelling stuff, Kenny. It really is. And, hats off to Brad White. Now, what's the difference between Young Guns and us?
We were Young Guns once.
Well, we were Young Guns, but we do a show every single week, and Rob Allen and Brad White, we're going to do a Young Guns show. And that premiere episode is yet to be aired. So I'm picking on Rob a little bit and Brad, but we were really hoping we'd get those guys on. Where you have to be under a certain age to be on the show. So, all right, Rob, Brad, get on the stick with that. But Kenny, it is something, and I think one of the points that Brad was making with the money that can be saved is the payback is typically 3 to 5 years. But trillions could be saved. I think he extrapolated that out to just Canada, which is where Brad's from. And I mean, I could frame this up a couple of different ways. One would be the war on terror. I mean, because you eliminate a ton of oil money. I mean, your dependence on oil goes down. The buildings are more efficient. You can charge more. But when you get to the universities, Kenny, I'm going to shift gears tremendously here and go off script a little bit, which is we talked to one of the brightest guys I know, and I'm not going to mention his name right now because he might not like the fact that we're saying this. But, when you start talking about college and stuff like that, Kenny, the big piece might be, why go to college at all? I mean, you can get educated now. We're all getting connected to the point that, the expense of spending $60,000, $70,000 a year to go to college so your kids can go off and learn how to drink. Thank God this wasn't around when we were here, because I would have really been upset. I'd probably be on Jerry Springer, upset with my parents about it. But you can get such an incredible education online now. I mean, there's no reason anybody on the planet can't be educated. And I mean, if nothing else, you can just go to YouTube and get educated. So when you start looking at this, he's right. You better be more efficient, because you better be able to get your costs down tuition wise, because you're competing now not with other universities, you're competing with the internet. And so that's a huge piece. And then you start thinking about buildings. I mean, if you really wanted to get to the crux of it, I mean, there was a trend for a while, and I don't know what's still going on, where more and more people are working from home, right? So, I mean, if your real estate costs are too high, if your cost is too high to rent space, I mean, people just can work from home, right? I mean, that's an alternative. In a lot of industries, not all industries, obviously.
Well, I agree with you, and I spend a lot of time online learning because I enjoy it. I never know when we have a free moment or when somebody gnaws at me. We always say, "Ask Mr. Google," because we had a question come up yesterday where somebody said there was an event happened 110 years ago on May 31st. What was it? And I didn't even have to look. I knew it was the Johnstown flood. But the way the world works now is you have the information at your fingertips. All you need to do is type in, if you spell it, get it close, you're going to have a Wikipedia entry or something that's going to really give you the immediate background. And I think that's where Ken St. Clair was coming with, that one day that's going to be the way our education for this career field we're in, this HVAC building automation, is not to go to work or go to school for 4 years to learn all about engineering, but just to get that one single piece that you need and have it presented to you in a format that you can understand, so you can get to that, solve that application issue and move on. But what's happening in the schools, for instance, in universities, and the cost that there's more to it with a young kid that comes out, or a young person that's 18 years old. They got to go through maturity. They have to define or refine their social skills. So one thing that the universities do that you can't do online is that you can get up in front of a group of people and be coached through by the professor.
Whoa. No, hang on. I know where you're going, but if you spent much, well, I guess you have, with your daughters are a little bit different, but dude,
they can't
get in
talk.
front of people? No, they're going to text. I mean,
no,
what I'm saying, though, to your point, now I totally get your point about socialization, but they're being socialized completely differently now. I mean, they're being socialized with machines. So you don't have to be there. I mean, you go out on a date now, they go on a date, you see them and they're texting each other. They don't, I mean, so it's not like proximity.
That's what we need to break. That's why we need to make, the teacher's going to say, put all your phones away, you get up here and we're going to show you how to do a presentation.
Well, that might be so, yeah.
Because they do it. I mean, we have, and your daughter, for instance, was amazing with the presentation she did. I think she got, you remember she did about the thermostats?
Right.
She wasn't afraid to get up in front of people.
Right.
She wasn't afraid to use technology to give it, convey points. So I'm saying you're not born with those, talents. So there's something you learn and there's something you refine over time. But if we lose all that, then we're all going to be in big trouble. If we were all going to rely on our phones to get this kind of, to transmit that kind of information and work, like we're just talking about, the social media has a great thing, and having the streaming aspect where you can. So on one hand, I think it's a great enabler because you can do it once and a million can see it. But then if 1 million could see it, that's a great, accomplishment. But if the people that see it can't have the ability to put it to use and show somebody that they understand it, if they can't, transact that information, then it really doesn't go anywhere. So I think there's a people part of the thing that with the universities and you always reference the most intelligent guys. You say, I had a teacher that once told me that the only the uninformed.
No,
the
nothing.
uninformed.
Nothing is obvious to the uninformed.
Do you realize how what an impression he made on you? That personal contact you had.
He was not at school though. This was after I was out of school.
But it was the personalization of it.
No,
In other words,
no,
if
no.
a great teacher, a great lecturer, they can change the course of your life. It's like a great
Right.
coach for football.
Completely agree. So what you're basically saying is the influencers in your life shape who you are. And what I'm suggesting is the influencers in the millennials' life might not even be people.
I agree,
So
and it's a tragedy. We need to break that a little bit. We need to put an inhibitor on that.
Yeah, but then you remember our interview with Dr. Igor Mezic from Ecotherm, right? I mean, he's got the artificial intelligence algorithm now that, we're sitting there talking about things like SkySpark where you got to put the rules in and write the rules. He's going, just give me the variables. I got self-learning algorithms. So, and the sex bots are here, Kenny. I mean, you start talking about that. I mean, the robots are here. I'm dead serious. They're creating these sex bots that are, the most beautiful men or women you want that, look and feel and sound. It's here, dude. It's literally they're manufacturing. I mean, you can order a Tesla or you can order a sex bot. It's here, dude. My Tesla, I can hit a button and this thing called summons. It will come up and it will, pick me up. It's nuts. It's wonderful and it's incredible, but it's disruptive and it's changing everything. And it was somebody told me that university's biggest problem now is they're not getting the funding they used to get. I mean, put it another way. If you had to reorganize the educational system, if you were going to start from scratch, would you set it up the way you set it up now? Would you go
Absolutely not.
Yeah, absolutely not. So,
I agree with you, and I agree that there's so much that you can do to. There's like when you learn a sport like tennis or something, I remember hearing a pro say that it was basically 3 ways to learn it. You had the marine type instruction where do it right, and correct it until they get the steps right. Then there's a way of learning where you watch somebody else to do it. You're on the floor with them and you're watching them go through the same struggles. Right. They can't get their feet together. There's a process where your brain sees that and it helps to learn it. And then there's the one-on-one coaching where you have a great rapport with a person and they talk about the philosophies, about the mental preparation. So you can't you can't be the consummate player without having all 3 styles in his impression. I think that what you're talking about, there's so much value on the internet and there's so much consolidation of resources. It's just like the dynamic reduction that the military went through when they had 3 commands and they pushed them, crunched them down into one unified command. Right. They saved all that excess duplicity. And, major corporations have done that. They buy a company, they buy another company, they, take over, acquire this or whatever, and then all the accounting departments are done by one department now. So they can release those people into the work stream again, and all the marketing guys. You only need one set of marketers, So you get that consolidation, you get that reduction of duplication in the network. But with education, I think we need to take this thing, like you said, if I was going to redo it, I'd make our technical fields, I would make this so important that if you were a technician and you were picked to be the guy to go up there and fix the equipment, that would be associated with pride and reward. But our society doesn't do that yet. And I think that the educational system is the problem, because the greatest route is that you go through grade school, middle school, high school, and college. It's an industry, and the industry doesn't want people stopping along the way going to technical trades. No, they're coming around now because the younger folks are doing it. But the institution had a way of pressing you out that you were drawn in to be the bank manager or drawn in to be a corporate CEO. But the reality is, it's like professional sports. There's only so many people that a small percentage are actually going to make the big leagues. The rest of them are going to have fun along the way, and they get a real job and then work at it for 40 to 50 years and go without being recognized and be put out to pasture and be replaced, right?
Well, I'll tell you what, I had one of my mentors, an older gentleman that sort of mentored me as my first boss, but a super, super sharp guy. He had 2 sons, and he sort of did the research. This goes back to, I guess they were graduating, going to college in late 90s, early 2000. Okay. He was doing the math on it, what it would cost for them to go to college and get an MBA and then get a job at a bank or a financial firm and so on and so forth, and what they were going to make and how long it would take them to pay the student loans off. And then he compared to that what it would cost them to put them to go to trucking school to learn to be a trucker and what they could make being a trucker. And the big one was what it cost to go to Mercedes-Benz, a 1-year program, become a Mercedes mechanic, and they were going to make 4 times as much money being the Mercedes mechanic as they were in any of the other jobs. And the payback, it wasn't even close. So anyway, we're sort of digressing here a little bit, but it's kind of cool that we're trying to solve all the world's problems here. But the point being, we are in a disruptive time. It's gonna affect our industry. It's coming at us from all angles, and hey, we're here. What can we say?
Well, I think it's important. I think on one hand, the universities are getting out of hand with or getting out of control with the cost of tuition. And the other hand is that, we have social engineering going on where, kids don't think they're successful unless they go to college. When they go to college, they come out, they have an S-load of money, and they have very little value in their education. They know a lot about, middle ground stuff, liberal influences where they no longer feel compelled to, do anything. They want it given to them. So that, like you're talking about that gentleman, he's so right. And the more I hear about it, but you got to be careful where you send a kid to school, because what you do, they're going to have the impress. That's going to be the way they treat things. That's the way they're going to view the world, from a receptive or from a passive, or however they are. Their personalities get molded in a very formidable time period. And so I think, and the internet does alleviate a lot of people that they don't have the money to do it. They could do a lot of catch up on themselves, but they have to be self-motivated. And see, unfortunately,
you just said it, and I'm sorry for interrupting, but you just said it. When I look to hire people now, I might hire somebody that's got a college education, but what I'm looking for is a person that couldn't go to college, that educated themselves. The one that's got on YouTube and can talk, tech inside and out, not because they went to technical school or whatever, but because they took advantage of the tools there and they taught themselves. That is an indicator of me as somebody that's going to be a great employee.
Yeah, and we'll see the military does a lot of that too. We talk to. We see a lot of people from all over the place, and I've lived in Europe. I lived in Germany 9 years, 5 years in the Air Force and 4 years as a, civilian. And different places do different things, and they move their young child through the system in different ways, The problem is, like with this election coming up now, we have a chance every time to do something. At least we believe it. Figuratively speaking or hypothetically speaking, we can change things. And I think what happens is, what you and I do after we get done talking, I really feel like we've done something, because I feel like I'm going to do something different. I was going this way, now I'm going that way. So with the opportunity to educate people, I think we can keep influencing it. We keep getting these young guns, and we keep putting them out in front of everybody and show them how successful they are. And then these young guns are going to go into these organizations, and they're going to restructure the way things are done there, the way people are hired, and how people go through the system. But I think the society at large is we've got to put more positive attributes to technical people. We need to go back to the earlier days, the 50s and 60s, when we were worried about our kids not competing against the other world, talent out there. And if we do that, the emphasis has to happen. But we have a chronic shortage of talent for our industry, and we're the fastest industry growing in North America. So you figure that out.
No, I think it's great. Well, listen, Kenny, we're up against it, running out of time. So we had 2 other posts. There's another, Eagle Technologies has a free webinar on using their CMMS software. Cool company. We hadn't had a chance to really connect with those guys yet. We see them at the show. So we're going to come find you at Realcomm Ibicon, Eagle Technologies. And then we had ACI. You did a great interview with them from the Niagara Summit. And then I did want to spend just a minute and talk about the final post, Kenny, because you actually interviewed these folks. Talk a bit of about that cool new technology we ran into. And actually, the young lady was one of the dancers, Mark Peacock's dancers. That's sort of how we got at the Haystack Connect. That's sort of how we got connected with her. But it's kind of a cool technology. Again, one of these companies we didn't know about, we got to spend some time with at the Niagara Summit. So real quickly, Kenny, summarize what those guys do.
Okay, well, SensorFact was one of the new vendors that we saw at the 2016 Tritium Summit. And it's always a great thing to do, go up and down vendor row, because you get to see the latest and greatest innovations and the ideas. Well, these folks have really and truly looked at our industry, again, from that perspective that's not inside the bubble. So they get a chance to see what's important. So they came up with like the end game of, say, SkySpark. So it's a safe way to share and integrate the system sensor data. So they extricate only sensor information because that's where all the big money's at. That's where the great savings are at. That's where you get your analytics from. So their emphasis is on secure, maintaining secure network management. They also management of the entire data assets. So basically, you can collect so much data that's useless. You can you can overwhelm yourself. So you have to filter it. So what they do is they really manage the names, tagging, descriptive dimensions to get actionable data that you need, and then they share it to the people that need it. Some people don't want to see this; they want to see this. So they can manage and filter the data information, and then they can integrate it, because then once you do get this realized analysis, you can visualize it. You can put it into a visualized a visualized format, and then you can really do your energy management, your utility bill reconciliation, remote port monitoring, floor plan visualization. They can really take that. They just, again, working just with sensor data, so they don't know about the feedback of the 0 to 10 on the valve. They just take the sensor information, they put it in a format for the person that really and truly needs that information. So it's just a clever way to take the technologies that we have and just scoop the important stuff out. So they basically were new to the Niagara community, but that's where their customers are going to be. They believe that they can go out there and fill a niche that isn't done yet. So they do data acquisition solutions for the building control sensors. They do network security, data acquisition. They do integration at a filtered level, and they have developments. They could do more. If you have a problem, or you have an application that's not complete, they have on board people that do development, code writing to get that information you want. So
very cool stuff, Kenny. Very, very cool. All right, big dog. So listen, man, we're running a little bit over here, so we're going to call it a wrap. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right. We hadn't practiced this in a while, and Rob Allen and you just didn't get, well, you actually did do it really well last week, the signature outro, right? Okay, so cue the music. The music's playing. All right, so there you have it. Another week on Control Talk Now, your smart buildings video pass. I'm the one who needs to break your video cast and podcast. Hey, you can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes if you want to. I'm Eric Stromquist. He's the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only Kenny Smyers. So remember, be bold and stay in control.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed, Kenny Smyers. There you go.
By the way, we got a nice